Hey folks, this is The Constant Show where we talk about movies, and I am Constant, and this week we will be discussing the movie Accident. So I like unintentionally bad movies. I think there's something just amazing about trying and failing. I don't like it as much when it's purposely bad. I think it's the equivalent of crapping your pants and then pointing at yourself and then laughing. It's like, yeah, you succeeded in telling some kind of joke, but it's entirely at your own expense. Accident is like a masterclass in accidentally sucking. It's like the Sistine Chapel of trying and failing to tell a story. And it's got everything. There's overacting, there's underacting, there's terrible character decisions made by hateable characters, there's plot sequences that just make no sense, to be quite frank with you, and a complete misunderstanding of plot structure, human anatomy, and also stakes. There will be chronological spoilers ahead, so if you want to jump off and watch this movie at any point, it's available on Amazon Prime. If you don't want to watch it, you can just stick around for the whole thing because I'm going to ruin a lot of it. TheKhanstantShow, what's up? So the movie starts with our heroines. There's Flowgoer and there's Hypochondriac. I promise all the nicknames will make sense later. You just have to trust me and roll with it. So Hypochondriac's mom drops them off at the bus station, where Hypochondriac is supposed to have bus tickets so that they can go to some concert. And she lets Flowgoer go through her bag for an inordinate amount of time before she reveals that, it's a prank, I actually don't have a plan at all. Their friend is supposed to give them a ride to where they're going, but she flakes out, so instead they're just gonna hitchhike. You need bad decisions to make a horror movie, so I'm willing to let this one just slide right on by. So Flowgoer is walking in the middle of the street listening to her headphones when she almost gets hit by a speeding car. This is our second bad character decision in short order, and this one is much less excusable because I don't feel like it's necessary to tell a story. Instead, you demonstrate this character's just complete negligence for the act of surviving, which admittedly is great character development for a lot of the stuff that happens later. In the car, we have our two male protagonists. There's Creepy Hero and then Mr. Mixed Feelings. Creepy Hero apologizes really good, and I hope you like this scene because we're going to get 4 separate flashbacks to it. The 4 of them go to the gas station, and the gas station clerk is trying to upsell them on their new promotion, but they get all tense because there's 2 cops behind them, and we're supposed to get the impression that they're uncomfortable around cops. Fair enough. Well delivered. Then they leave the gas station, and whenever they leave, the cop turns on his siren, pulls in front of their car, and then just parks there, and they sit there for like 10 minutes, just doing nothing. And we never get resolution to this cop side of the situation of why he just pulled these people over, made them sit in their car, and then just leave. Is this like an actual cop thing? Write in the comment section down below if any cop has just pulled you over and then not gone up to you, just drove off. Oh, when they're at the gas station, the 2 female characters undress in front of the mirror, and then they just kind of stand around in their underwear as the camera male gazes on them. I know, again, it's like a horror movie trope, but it's just so sloppily done, thrown in there. Like, why are they getting undressed at the gas station? I could understand why somebody would go, woo! When they're at Camp Crystal Lake having a summer camp experience. Either way, we're moving on. Creepy Hero lives up to his namesake. He's in the backseat of the car making out with Flowgoer, and he tries to push things into a sexual direction, and she's like, no. And then eventually she pushes him off, which wakes up Hypochondriac. Hypochondriac punches him in the face, and then she also grabs hold of the wheel, which causes the car to careen off, and then hit a ramp behind another car, and then fly down and land top down. Flowgoer is mostly okay. She says that she can't feel her legs, but we later learn that this isn't true. Hypochondriac and Mr. Mixed Feelings are both strapped upside down in the car. Mr. Mixed Feelings is passed out. Hypochondriac is awake. She's like, whoa, what's going on? Hypochondriac passes out, and then she starts coughing, and then Hypochondriac doesn't know if she can move her legs, because that's the trendy thing with girls nowadays, is just paralysis from the waist down. They try to wake up the dude in the back, but then it doesn't work. Then Flowgoer is like, I don't actually know how to check a pulse. Wait, I figured it out. I don't feel like that should be the struggle. Flowgoer crawls to the back window, and then she just starts tearing into it with her bare hands. Then it turns out that Hypochondriac had a phone this whole time, and she's just like, oh yeah, and it's outside the car. But Hypochondriac, she's still buckled upside down, so she can't get to it. So then Flowgoer has to go to the back window, grab a stick. There's another part where she's crawling through the glass to get that stick so that she can reach the phone. And then she gets the phone, and you're like, oh, they got it. They can call for help. And then the phone's almost dead. That's fair. And Hypochondriac has the stick, and she's poking the buttons outside the window. And instead of calling 911, she calls her mom. And she gets the voicemail. She tries to leave a message, but they don't actually leave a message. So that entire sequence is just wasted. Why it's here, I don't know. You could have just had her not have a phone. Oh, so then Flowgoer points out to Hypochondriac how stupid that whole sequence was. And she's like, you didn't call 911? You called your mom and didn't even leave a message on her answering machine? How is she gonna find us? We hitchhiked to the middle of nowhere, got into a car with two people we don't know. You didn't even give them a license plate. The Hypochondriac has an asthma attack, and she looks for an inhaler, and then they can't find it. And then she breathes onto the window, and she writes, open me. Which instead of interpreting to mean open me as in open the window, Flowgoer is like, oh, she wants me to give her a tracheotomy with a pencil. I had to look this up because sometimes dumb stuff happens in movies, and I'm like, am I wrong? Is this actually how reality works? And it turns out, no, it is in fact not how reality works. The reason that you use a pen instead of a pencil is because the inside of a pen is hollowed out, so you could use that as almost an improvised breathing tube. And it turns out the difficulty in using a pen to perform a tracheotomy is that it's really difficult for you to actually pierce the throat. So I imagine it would be even more so difficult for you to pierce the throat with a pencil. But then on top of that, now you have a plugged breathing hole. And I say plugged because immediately after they shove this solid pencil into her throat and then pull it out, they wrap it in bandages. And it's like, if this is supposed to be a breathing hole, she should be suffocating at this point. I don't know why you made me sit through this whole tracheotomy scene. The creepy hero is outside. He's been pierced by a tree branch, and it looks like it's a lot more fatal than it is. He says he can't get up and his leg is ruined. How he got out of the car when there's no person-sized hole, I have no idea. He was in the car, now he's not. So there's Final Destination wires just whipping around. It's crazy that we have this whole car crash situation, which in and of itself could be like a crisis, but now we have Final Destination wires just wacky waving inflatable arm flaying tube manning around. The women argue about whether or not help is coming. It clearly isn't, because she didn't even press the button to confirm that was the voicemail that she wanted to leave, which is how all voicemails work. Creepy hero tells them that the car that they're in is actually stolen. A Flowgoer is the absolute worst during this conversation. Everything that he says, she treats it like a normal conversation. He's like, yeah, we stole that car from work. She's like, where do you work? What do? They do a flashback during this part where we cut to his work and we get to see the guy bringing in the car and stuff. It immediately cuts to the flashback. But you gotta imagine, in universe, he's screaming all of these things, calmly narrating his work shift in the middle of this crisis. He's like, we came in at 9 to 6 every day. We clocked in at the front desk. He's even throwing catchphrases in there. Be the man, you gotta be the man. Creepy hero tells Hypochondriac that her voice is killing them faster. And normally I would say that's kind of rude, but he actually has a point here, considering that it was her idea to do the pencil tracheotomy. The two girls are talking, and one of them just restates the premise of Final Destination, and then the other one calls it out as being Final Destination. I can't think of any situation that better exemplifies not having any ideas. Hypochondriac gets sick of sitting the way that she's sitting, her legs getting tired, and in the process of undoing her seatbelt, she crashes into the floor, and now her leg is stuck in another uncomfortable position. They casually talk about actors for a little bit. A helicopter flies over DC. So you know that this movie is going to have a helicopter. Flowgoer smashes the alcohol bottle so that she can make smelling salts so that she can wake up Mr. Mixed Feelings. And why she didn't just pour out a little bit of the alcohol instead of smashing the bottle and getting more broken glass all over the place is really anybody's guess. Whenever they wake up Mr. Mixed Feelings, as soon as he wakes up, he's like, oh shit, I'm not going to jail for this. They're like, we gotta get out of here together. And he's like, yeah, I gotta get out of here. The car is wired with this weird red beeping thing, which I assume is how the helicopter knows that they're where they are. Mr. Mixed Feelings yanks a window upwards so that he can crawl out, but for some reason the girls are still stuck in the car. But the window is clearly stuck in whatever position it's in, because at one point he stops and his legs are under it and he's just like, Mr. McFeelings rips the stick out of Creepy Hero's chest. You would think that this would cause him to bleed out, but don't worry, he's got a ton of life left in him. Mr. McFeelings wants to abandon the girls. He wants to leave them there so that whatever shadowy organization they stole the car from will go after them instead of them. The people from this organization are going to know it's them because, you know, it happened at their work. They argue for a really long time, and it's a lot of melodrama. Oh, also he's bleeding during this entire conversation. And he just keeps taking his hand off of like the spot where he's supposed to be holding the blood in. It's like, you need to listen to me! They talk about the guy who owned the car, and then we get another flashback. And then Mr. McFeeling starts like grilling him on work protocol. He's like, it was a different guy. You didn't make him sign in and check his ID badge? It's like, you guys stole a car from the company. So then we get another helicopter shot. So we know the helicopter is still in progress. So Creepy Hero goes back and he starts talking to the girls. And he's like, we're gonna get you out of this. We'll get you back to wherever you were going. I made a promise. That car shows up above, and I assume it's here to do something about that car that's been parked there since the beginning of the movie. The guys find a briefcase and it's full of clothes, and then eventually they find a gun in there. The fake badge shows up. I guess he's like some kind of special forces or whatever. He gets out of his car and he goes to his trunk, and then in plain view of the cop behind him, he has all these different patches for like CIA, DEA, NCIS, CSI Miami. He's got all the patches, really. It doesn't really work out. The cop is suspicious of him still, and he's like, wait a second, nobody from the FBI put in a case. I'm gonna go talk on my walkie-talkie about this. Hey guys, I got this FBI guy here. And then he gets shot in the face. Fake badge, he throws the other car at them. I don't know how he does this. I imagine maybe he got into his car and then he drove it around and then rammed into the side of this one to knock it down the cliff. But this seems really unnecessary because if he's part of this shadowy organization, he should know that the helicopter is on its way and it's going to be a much tidier cleanup than him literally chucking the car at them. Hypochondriac decides to break her leg so that she can get out of the car. Mixed Feelings finds a dead body of this random girl. I assume she was the one from the car earlier, and he's holding her in this blanket. He's like, I killed her. And I apologize for underselling the drama of this situation, but immediately after that, he switches back to, you know what, we really got to get rid of these girls because otherwise we're going to jail forever. The Creepy Hero talks him out of it again, and then Mixed Feelings changes his mind again, and he pulls out a gun and he starts aiming at him, and he's like, we gotta take them out because they're gonna be after us next. And he gets talked out of it again. And then Mr. Mixed Feelings changes his mind for, I believe, the fourth or fifth time. And he pulls out a flare and he throws it at the car and it burns a circle of fire around the car. So now the girl's gotta get out of the car because it's gonna explode in fire. The helicopter shows up and then it starts machine gunning at the two guys. Mr. Mixed Feelings, he is done, but Creepy Hero gets hit a couple times and he's still in the game. The other car explodes from the machine gun fire, and then the helicopter catches its like back rotor part on an electrical wire, which causes it to crash. So whatever shadowy organization sent these people, they gave him this guy who can't even properly pilot a helicopter, and then the other guy whose best solution to the situation is to throw a car at it. The second explosion, the helicopter one, pushes the original car off the cliff away from the fire and into the water. And now it's filling up with water as the two girls are still stuck inside. The flow goer swims out of the water. She gets back to shore and she's passed out. She's like laying there and she's talking up at who she thinks is Creepy Hero, but it turns out that it's Fake Badge. Creepy Hero shows up. He gets shot, which allows flow goer to escape into the woods. And whenever she escapes into the woods, she surprises him with a rock. She hits him. He falls down. Then she gets choked out a little bit. Then she hits him with another rock. And then she hits him with a third rock, and then she shoots him in the face twice. It's kind of like a Tom and Jerry sketch at this point. She goes back to the lake so that she can rescue her friend. I should point out that if she has a giant hole in her throat, where she breathes from, if she goes into that water, she's just going to drown. And Creepy Hero somehow dies in the process of rescuing her, so he's like floating in the waters. He survived the machine gun fire, but this one swim is the final straw. So they get back to shore, and flow goer and hypochondriac they hug and they walk back, and then they're walking in the middle of the road, and a speeding car presumably hits them. It's good to know that the character development of them not paying attention to traffic actually came up again at the ending. So that was the movie. What are my thoughts on it? The big problem is it doesn't have any commitment to any of the ideas. Like, one of the reasons that small victories matter so much in something like 127 hours is that the entire thing is focused on this one central conflict. And it seems like they tried to do that with the car crash part, but then they realized they didn't have enough plot to run out the movie. So then they were like, oh well, what if the car was also stolen? And what if the helicopter explodes? And what if the other car explodes? And you just keep introducing new things to make up for the fact that you're not capitalizing on all the drama that you could have had. Even if the car was just stolen or whatever, and you got to the point where some hitman guy from the shadowy organization is coming to take them out now, even that could have been its own little movie. And it kind of reminds me of Ice Cream Truck, where it's you had two really good ideas, but you tried to Reese's them together, and this peanut butter don't chocolate. You know what I'm saying?
Hashtag ice cream bars.
Because on the one hand, this could have been a movie about two dumb girls who get into a car accident and then just proceed to make things continually worse for themselves. You need to break my arm now so that I can crawl through. If you break my other arm, I can crawl through the window. The second would be, these two guys stole this car from the shadowy organization. Now the shadowy organization is sending helicopters and stuff after them. Preferably one's competent enough to drive themselves through a forest and not directly into the ground, causing an explosion. Because it seems like everybody in the movie is extremely incompetent. And I don't think that any character in the movie ever makes a decision that benefits them. Like the cop at the very beginning, right? And the hitman guy, it's we have this whole part where he's picking out his patch and stuff. And then the movie's no, don't worry about that. That doesn't matter. He has to shoot the cop anyways because the cop doesn't believe him. The whole thing with the cell phone, it's this prolonged sequence that ends up not factoring in at all. Mr. Mixed Feelings has to wrestle the wire, and a lot of the conflicts are so decentralized. This is a movie where at one point the struggle is, I'm gonna try and shove my head through this broken glass hole. And at another point the struggle is, oh shit, we have to just dodge machine gun fire from this helicopter. But that's been the movie. Those were my thoughts. Have you seen it? What were your thoughts? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you love to hate it? Did you hate to love it?
Accident's an accident. Do you have any movie recommendations?
And if you have any movie recommendations, drop those in the comment section down below, because I would love to know what you guys would love to...
For me to cover.
Yeah,